The Man Who Learned English at 50. Beginner English Story with Life Lessons. English Listening Practice. Many people believe that learning a new language is only for young people. They think children learn quickly, but older people cannot. This story is about a man who proved that idea was wrong. His name was David. He started learning English when he was 50 years old. His journey was not easy, but it changed his life forever. David lived in a small town. He worked in a furniture workshop. Every morning, he woke up at 6 o'clock. He made breakfast, drank a cup of tea, and walked to work. He had done the same job for more than 25 years. He was honest, kind, and hardworking. Everyone in the town respected him. David could speak only his native language. He knew a few English words like hello, thank you, and goodbye, but that was all. Whenever he saw English books, he felt nervous. The words looked difficult. The grammar seemed confusing. He often said, "I am too old to learn English." One day, everything changed. His daughter Emma received a new job in another country. She called David every weekend. Sometimes she spoke English with her friends while talking to him. David listened quietly, but he understood nothing. One evening, Emma said, "Dad, I wish you could speak English. We could travel together. You could meet my friends, and you could enjoy many new experiences." David smiled, but inside he felt sad. He wanted to understand her world. He wanted to speak to new people. Most of all, he wanted to prove to himself that he could still learn something new. That night, he looked at himself in the mirror. "I am 50 years old," he said softly. "Maybe I am not too old. Maybe I am only afraid." The next morning, he visited a bookstore. He walked slowly through the language section. There were many colorful books. Some were thick and some were thin. Finally, he picked a beginner's English book with large letters and simple lessons. As he paid for the book, the cashier smiled. "Learning English?" she asked. David laughed nervously. "Yes," he answered. "I think it is time." The cashier replied, "Good luck." Every expert was once a beginner. Those words stayed in David's mind all day. That evening, he opened the book. The first page said, "Welcome to English." He smiled. His first lesson was about greetings. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. How are you? I am fine, thank you. David read each sentence slowly. He repeated every word 3 times. His pronunciation was not perfect, but he did not stop. He wrote every new word in a small notebook. He also wrote the meaning beside each word. Before going to bed, he read the words again. The next morning, something surprising happened. When David entered the workshop, he smiled at his young coworker, Alex. "Good morning," David said in English. Alex looked surprised. "Good morning," he answered happily. David felt proud. He had spoken 2 English words and someone understood him. It was a small success, but it gave him confidence. Every evening, David studied for 30 minutes. Sometimes he was tired after work, but he still opened his book. Some days were easy. Some days were difficult. Sometimes he forgot words he had learned yesterday. Sometimes he mixed up simple sentences. He often made mistakes. Instead of saying, "I am hungry," he once said, "I hungry am." Instead of saying, "My name is David," He accidentally said, "My David is a name." He laughed at himself. Then he corrected his mistakes. Little by little, he improved. One important lesson David learned was this: mistakes are teachers. If you never make mistakes, you never learn. Every learner makes mistakes. Children make mistakes. Adults make mistakes. Even advanced English speakers sometimes make mistakes. The important thing is to continue. After 2 weeks, David learned another lesson. English sentences usually follow a simple order: subject, verb, object. For example, I read books. I is the subject. Read is the verb. Books is the object. David practiced this pattern every day. I drink water. I eat breakfast. I watch television. I open the door. I close the window. I write letters. He repeated these simple sentences while cooking, walking, and working. Soon they became natural. One Saturday afternoon, Emma called him. "Hello, Dad?" David smiled. "Hello, how are you?" Emma became silent for a moment. Then she laughed with happiness. "You said that in English." "Yes," David replied carefully. "I am fine." Emma clapped her hands. "I am so proud of you." David felt warm inside. That conversation lasted only a few minutes, but it gave him great motivation. He realized something important. Learning English was not only about words. It was about connecting with people. It was about opening new doors. It was about believing in himself. As the weeks passed, David added more vocabulary. He learned family words: father, mother, brother, sister, son, daughter, friend, neighbor. Then he learned everyday verbs: go, come, eat, drink, sleep, read, write, listen, speak, walk, run. He wrote short sentences with every new word. My daughter lives abroad. My friend drinks coffee. I read every evening. We walk together. Short sentences became longer. Longer sentences became small conversations. Every night, David read one page aloud. Reading aloud helped him hear his own pronunciation. Sometimes he recorded his voice on his phone. When he listened again, he noticed words that were difficult to pronounce. Instead of feeling embarrassed, he practiced them again. Slowly, his pronunciation became clearer. David also discovered another important lesson. Learning every day is better than studying only once a week. Even 15 or 20 minutes each day can make a big difference. Small steps become long journeys. One evening, as he closed his notebook, he smiled. Just 1 month earlier, English had looked impossible. Now it looked challenging, but possible. He still had a long road ahead. He still knew only a little English. But for the first time in many years, he felt excited about learning. He looked out the window at the evening sky and quietly said, this time without fear, "I can do this." And for the first time, he truly believed those words. The next morning, David woke up before his alarm clock. He felt excited because he wanted to study before going to work. He made a cup of tea, opened his English notebook, and read every word he had learned during the last month. He noticed something interesting. The words that had seemed difficult in the beginning now felt familiar. He no longer needed to think for a long time before saying good morning or how are you. His answers came more naturally. David smiled and said to himself, practice really works. That day at work, Alex walked into the workshop carrying a box of tools. "Good morning, David," Alex said. David answered with confidence. "Good morning, Alex. How are you today?" "I am very well. And you?" "I am fine, thank you." The conversation lasted only a few seconds, but David felt happy for the rest of the day. He had spoken 4 complete English sentences without looking at a book. That evening, David learned an important lesson about English. He discovered that learning words alone was not enough. He also needed to learn phrases. For example, instead of learning only the word help, he learned the phrase, "Can you help me?" Instead of learning only the word understand, he learned, "I don't understand." Instead of learning only the word repeat, he learned, "Can you repeat that, please?" He realized that people speak in phrases, not only in single words. So he wrote many useful expressions in his notebook. "What does this mean?" "Could you speak slowly?" "Please write it down." "Excuse me." "You're welcome." "I am learning English." He practiced these expressions every day until he could say them easily. One weekend, Emma invited David to join a video call with her friends. David felt nervous. "What if I make mistakes?" he asked. Emma smiled. "You will make mistakes, Dad. Everyone does." David took a deep breath and joined the call. Emma introduced him. "This is my father, David." Everyone smiled warmly. One friend said, "Hello, David. Nice to meet you." David answered slowly, "Hello, nice to meet you too." Another person asked, "How are you?" David replied, "I am fine. Thank you." The conversation was short because David did not know many words yet, but he understood more than he expected. He recognized greetings, numbers, simple questions, and familiar verbs. When the call ended, David felt proud. "I did it," he said quietly. Emma nodded. "Yes, you did." That night, David wrote another lesson in his notebook. Confidence grows through action, not through waiting. The next week, David began learning the present tense. He found that it was one of the most useful parts of English because people use it every day. He practiced sentences like these. "I work in a furniture workshop. I drink tea every morning. My daughter lives abroad. We study English. He reads books. She cooks dinner." David noticed that when the subject is he, she, or it, many verbs add the letter S. He writes. She works. It rains. At first, he often forgot the S. Then he practiced again and again until it became a habit. He also learned that routines are easy to describe in the present tense. I wake up at 6. I brush my teeth. I eat breakfast. I go to work. I come home. I study English. I go to bed. Soon he could describe his whole day in simple English. One afternoon, David visited the public library. He asked the librarian if there were any easy English books. She smiled kindly and showed him a shelf filled with books for beginners. David borrowed one with short stories. The first story was only 1 page long. He understood almost every sentence. Whenever he found a new word, he did not stop immediately. First, he tried to guess the meaning from the sentence. Only after finishing the page did he check the dictionary. This helped him read more smoothly. Another lesson became clear. Do not stop after every unknown word. Keep reading. Try to understand the main idea first. Little by little, your vocabulary will grow. David also started listening to short English conversations. At first, the speaker sounded very fast. He could understand only a few words. Instead of becoming discouraged, he listened to the same recording several times. The first time, he understood maybe 10%. The second time, 20%. The third time, 30%. Each time, he noticed something new. He discovered that repeating the same lesson was not boring. It was powerful. After several weeks, David had another surprise. One customer entered the workshop. The customer was visiting from another country and spoke only English. The manager looked around. Does anyone speak English? The workshop became quiet. David felt his heart beating quickly. He knew only simple English. Still, he raised his hand. I can try. The manager smiled. David walked toward the customer. Hello, he said. Hello, the customer answered. David spoke slowly. Can I help you? The customer explained that he wanted a small wooden table. David did not understand every word, but he caught the important ones. Table, wood, small, price, tomorrow. Whenever he missed something, he politely asked, "Could you speak slowly, please?" The customer smiled and repeated the sentence. Together, they understood each other. The conversation was not perfect. There were pauses. There were mistakes. There were smiles. When the customer left, he said, "Thank you very much." David answered, "You're welcome." After the customer left, the manager walked over. "You did a great job." David laughed. "I was very nervous." "But you didn't give up," the manager replied. That evening, David realized he had just used English in a real situation. It was not a classroom exercise. It was real life. He understood another valuable lesson. You do not need perfect English to communicate. You need courage. You need patience. And you need to keep trying. As the months passed, David's notebook became thicker. The first pages contained only greetings. The middle pages contained vocabulary and grammar. The newest pages contained short diary entries. Every night he wrote 5 or 6 sentences. Today, I worked hard. The weather was sunny. I learned 5 new words. I spoke English with a customer. I feel more confident now. Writing every day helped him remember grammar and vocabulary. Sometimes he made mistakes. The next day he corrected them. Every correction made him a little stronger. One evening, while reading his old notebook, David laughed. He remembered the first day when he had said, "I hungry am." Now he could easily say, "I am hungry because I worked all day, so I am going to cook dinner." The difference amazed him. He had not become fluent yet. He still searched for words. He still made grammar mistakes. He still needed a dictionary. But something inside him had changed. He no longer called himself too old. Now he called himself a learner. He finally understood that learning never truly ends. No matter your age, every new word is another step forward. Every conversation is another lesson. Every mistake is another opportunity to improve. One quiet evening, David looked at the calendar. Exactly 1 year had passed since he had bought his first English book. He smiled, closed his notebook, and whispered, "This is only the beginning." The biggest surprise of his journey was still waiting for him. 1 year after David began learning English, his life looked very different. He still worked in the same furniture workshop. He still woke up early every morning. He still enjoyed a cup of tea before work. Many things were the same, but one important thing had changed. David was no longer afraid of English. He knew he was still learning, but he was no longer afraid to speak. He understood that fluency does not come from knowing every word. Fluency comes from using the words you already know. One sunny afternoon, Emma called him with exciting news. "Dad," she said, "I have a surprise for you." David smiled. "What is it?" "I am getting married next month." David's eyes filled with happiness. "That is wonderful." Emma continued, "The wedding will be here. Many guests will come from different countries. Most of them speak English." David became quiet. A year earlier, this news would have frightened him. Now, instead of fear, he felt determination. "I will be there," he said, "and I will speak English." Emma smiled. "I know you will." During the next few weeks, David studied more carefully than ever before. He practiced everyday conversations. He reviewed grammar. He learned polite expressions. He practiced introducing himself. "My name is David. I am Emma's father. It is nice to meet you. Welcome. Thank you for coming." He practiced asking simple questions. "Where are you from? Is this your first visit? How do you like the city?" He also practiced answering common questions. "I work in a furniture workshop. I started learning English 1 year ago. I enjoy reading English books. My favorite hobby is walking in the park." Every evening, David stood in front of a mirror and spoke aloud. At first, he felt a little silly. Then he realized something. Speaking aloud helps your brain and your mouth work together. Many learners read silently. Reading is useful. Listening is useful. Writing is useful. But speaking is necessary if you want to have conversations. David learned another lesson. Do not wait until your English is perfect before speaking. Speak today. Tomorrow, you will speak a little better. The following month, David packed his suitcase and traveled to Emma's city. Everything felt new. The airport signs were in English. The announcements were in English. The hotel receptionist spoke English. A year ago, David would have felt lost. Now he understood many words around him. He read signs that said exit, information, baggage, and welcome. He smiled because these simple words were no longer strangers. At the hotel, the receptionist greeted him warmly. "Good afternoon. Welcome." David answered confidently. "Good afternoon. I have a reservation." The receptionist asked for his passport. David understood immediately. A few minutes later, he was holding the key to his room. As he walked toward the elevator, he smiled proudly. He had completed his first hotel conversation entirely in English. The wedding day finally arrived. The hall was beautiful. Flowers decorated every table. Soft music filled the room. Family and friends gathered together from many countries. Emma introduced David to her guests. "This is my father." People smiled and shook his hand. One guest said, "It is nice to meet you." David answered naturally, "It is nice to meet you too." Another guest asked, "How long have you been learning English?" David thought for a moment before answering. "I started 1 year ago. I learn a little every day." The guest smiled. "Your English is very good." David laughed gently. "Thank you. I still make many mistakes." The guest replied with kind words. "We all make mistakes." David realized something wonderful. Nobody laughed at his English. Nobody expected perfection. People appreciated his effort. That evening, Emma asked David to give a short speech. His heart began to beat faster. Many people were watching him. A year ago, he would have refused. Now he walked slowly to the front of the room. He took a deep breath. He looked at his daughter. Then he began. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is David. I am very happy to celebrate this special day with my daughter and her husband. 1 year ago, I could not speak English. Today, I am speaking to all of you. My English is not perfect. Sometimes I forget words. Sometimes I make mistakes. But I learned something important. Learning has no age. If you are willing to practice every day, amazing things can happen. Thank you for your kindness. And thank you for listening. The room became quiet. Then everyone applauded. Emma hugged her father. I am so proud of you. David smiled. I am proud of myself too. Those simple words meant more than anyone realized. After returning home, David continued learning English. He did not stop because he had reached one goal. He understood that learning is a lifelong journey. Every month, he read another easy book. Every week, he listened to English conversations. Every day, he learned a few new words. Sometimes he watched English movies with subtitles. Sometimes he listened to podcasts while walking. Sometimes he spoke with tourists visiting his town. Every activity helped him improve a little more. David also started helping other adults who wanted to learn English. Many people told him the same thing he had once believed. I am too old. David always smiled. Then he answered with the same sentence, No, you're not too old. You are only at the beginning. He organized a small study group at the local library. Every Saturday morning, people gathered around one table. Some were 40 years old. Some were 60. Some were even older. Nobody laughed when someone made a mistake. Instead, they encouraged one another. David often reminded them of several lessons that had changed his own life. He said, learn a little every day. He said, do not fear mistakes. He said, practice speaking even when you feel nervous. He said, read simple books before difficult ones. He said, listen carefully and be patient. He said, celebrate every small success. One afternoon, a new student asked him an important question. What is the secret to learning English? David smiled. There is no secret. The room became very quiet. Then he continued. The answer is simple. Be curious, be patient, be consistent. If you study for 20 minutes every day, those minutes become hours. Those hours become months. Those months change your life. Everyone nodded. They understood because they had experienced the same journey. Years later, David looked at the first notebook he had ever bought. The pages had become yellow with time. On the first page were the words, Hello, good morning, how are you? I am fine, thank you. He smiled as he remembered the nervous man who had stood in the bookstore, believing he was too old to begin. That man no longer existed. In his place stood someone who believed in lifelong learning. David closed the notebook gently. Then he opened a new one. On the first page, he wrote one sentence in clear, careful English. Today is another good day to learn. He smiled, picked up his pen, and began writing the next lesson. Because learning never truly ends, and neither does hope. The end.